everybody with us on this Friday edition of Ed Schultz News and Commentary. The news cycle continues to be enamored with what's wrong with Bush. He's got consultants. He's got coaches. He's been told what to do. Bush is doing everything he can to rejuvenate, rebrand, reinvigorate his campaign, and I don't know if he could do it. I view his father's book as a exoneration of don't blame my kids. They're going to be different presidents, and it's not their fault when he was ripping into Cheney and Rumsfeld in his most recent book written by Meacham. But what Bush is saying, going after Rubio, I thought it was the right thing to do. I mean, I do think that senators have an obligation to make as many votes as they possibly can and then not slam the process. Then you had Trump go after Rubio's personal finances and the way he manages things. I think that's very important. You got Ben Carson out there talking about the pyramids, which I think is totally irrelevant to every American out there who's concerned about jobs and wages and family security and a good future for their family. So, and now Trump is talking about super PAC money and about how he's against it. So there's a lot of stuff happening off to the side with these Republican candidates that mean really nothing to you. That really mean nothing to you as the American worker and consumer. It's all this sideshow stuff, as opposed to the Democrats that clearly are focused on issues, and maybe that's why they don't get the camera time that the Republicans get, because there's no stuff there, if you know what I mean. So Bush is trying to reinvigorate things. Bush is trying to make things different. He tells his supporters in a conference call to chill.
I'll head back home, do a little preparation on the debate. I promise you I'll do better. All the nervous Nellies on the call, chill out. We're going to do better, I promise you. And this is going to be a fun campaign.
So why would he say, vote for me and continue to support me because I'm going to do better in a campaign? It just seems a really strange strategy. Of course, do you think that the other candidates aren't going to try to do better in the debates? I think this debate thing has totally disfocused Bush and the fact that he's getting all these coaches and all these consultants and being told what to do does not take him into the arena of being a genuine guy. For more on all of this, let's go to Jonathan Alter, MSNBC political analyst and author of the most recent book, of course, a columnist for the Daily Beast and author of The Center Holds Obama and His Enemies. Jonathan, good to have you back with us.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me, Ed.
You bet. Where is the Jeb Bush campaign right now? What do you make sense of what's being said and the direction they're going?
Well, they're at sea, and they're taking on water. So the reason for that conference call was to reassure supporters. Some of them are already deserting him. This Paul Singer, this billionaire, just went to Rubio, and there are a number of others who are more quietly hedging their bets. So he's trying to, plug the holes in his boat, but he's really in deep trouble. That doesn't mean he's finished. You can never say never in politics. And John Kerry at this point in 2003 was way behind Howard Dean, and he came back and went on to win the nomination. The difference is that Bush, in this case, is not just behind one person. He's behind several of the Republicans, and his odds of being the nominee are greatly reduced.
Yeah.
In fact, I would say that it is unlikely at this point that Jeb Bush will be the Republican nominee. So he's trying to keep his people cool and play for a comeback, but I don't even think a strong debate performance at this point would change his fate very much.
I don't either, and I don't think this does him any good. This admission that he's got a new political consultant and he's got coaches out there on debates. Listen to this.
You've hired this media consultant to help you with debates?
Yeah, I've had one meeting with the guy. I'm going to be better.
What's he telling you?
He's telling me to be me. He's telling me to own what I believe.
Do you need a consultant to tell you that?
Yeah, it's amazing, huh? Probably not. Probably not.
What do you make of that, Jonathan?
Well, I think that's sort of an appealing side of Jeb Bush. He's responding like a human being. Yeah, it's amazing. You need a consultant nowadays to, bring up your debate performance. But that is what he did need some advice. He hasn't been forceful enough in debates. He walked right into a trap that Rubio set for him. He never should have brought up Rubio's attendance record in the Senate because, he should have known that Rubio could fling John McCain's attendance record or Barack Obama's in his face, and it just nobody cares that Florida constituents, didn't get him to vote on what were lopsided votes anyway. It's not like his vote would make a difference, and those votes he missed are not significant. There's no record that he missed any major vote where his vote would have made the difference in Rubio's case. So, why did Bush even bother to raise that? There were so many other things he could have gone to if he wanted to attack Rubio. So he just got clobbered on that exchange, and Rubio responded very effectively. And, the mentor has now been supplanted by the mentee. And I find it hard to imagine that he's going to be able to take down Rubio. And even if he does, he's got a bunch of other candidates to worry about. I think the country's just moved past the Bushes.
I think they have. I think you're right on that. And I think that there is such a visible frustration amongst Jeb Bush right now surrounding him that he loses a lot of credibility that he can lead because he seems somewhat disfocused by Rubio, disfocused by everybody else instead of really zeroing in on what he would be all about.
I mean, he's the only one of those guys, maybe also John Kasich, but, the two of them are the only ones who, if they did end up winning the White House, I wouldn't feel despondent, Jeb Bush is a reasonable guy, but he's running in a party that is radical and not reasonable and has completely lost its bearings. Even though, it's just such a measure of where we've come, Ed, that Jeb Bush, who was an extremely conservative governor of Florida, is now seen as the moderate in the race. He's not a moderate. He's not a moderate. He's extremely conservative, but it's a sign of how much things have changed that this particular political party has been taken over by people who can only be described as radicals. They want not modest change, not sensible change, but radical change. The Ryan budget is a radical document. This is Paul Ryan. Again, he seems like a moderate guy now compared to some of these other folks, but these are massive cuts in Pell Grants, massive cuts in any kind of program, federal programs for children. Right on down the list, so Bush. It's not just that his skills are rusty because he hasn't been in politics since the 1990s. It's that he's kind of Rip Van Winkle. He woke up and suddenly his party had been taken over by what
and he doesn't know how to handle
it. The president said they're cray, like the rappers say crazy. They're cray.
Yeah. And he doesn't know how to handle it. And now he's made He's made New Hampshire the firewall. Here he is saying he's going to win it.
What was it like having a dad growing up being president?
Well, when we grew up, he wasn't president. When I was a kid, he was just a dad. And he was the greatest dad alive. My dad was such an inspiration for me that whenever I made a mistake, all he had to do was say, "I'm disappointed in you." And it would send me into a deep spiraling depression for days, because I admired him so much, I respected him so much. He didn't have to lift a hand. He taught me right and wrong by how he acted, how he behaved, how he treated others. And so what it was like to grow up like that, total blessing.
Well, whereas the country may be sick of the Bushes, I think that there's a lot of people that would view that comment as about one of the most genuine things that Jeb Bush has said all along. Whether it's going to play or not and affect anybody when it comes to supporting him, I don't know. But
there are these really interesting revelations in John Meacham's new book that's coming out next week. It's in the New York Times this week. That the tension, I guess you could call it, between those around 41, George H.W. Bush and George W. Bush. And the elder Bush takes shots at Dick Cheney in this book, says he didn't serve his son well. And the book also reveals that Jeb urged his father to dump Dan Quayle from the ticket in 1992 when he ended up losing to Bill Clinton. So there's a lot of history there with this family, and there's a lot of, I think, warm feeling toward them as a family that, again, even if one has strong disagreements with them, that they have served their country. George H.W. Bush, in particular, from the time he was 18 years old and enlisted in the Navy, as the youngest pilot in the Navy in World War II, served his country for a very long time. But it all went awry under his son, and we had this disastrous war that was completely unnecessary, and that cost thousands and thousands of lives. Not just in the United States, but in Iraq, and sort of wrecked the Middle East. It was the most disastrous foreign policy.
There's no doubt, and he's trying to in this book.
American history.
He's taking a shot at Cheney and Rumsfeld and almost trying to reverse the blame
you can't do that. I mean, this family is tarred with that, and this is where I think Trump comes in, because Trump was against the Iraq War, and when he brings it up, it's not just that he calls Jeb Bush low energy. When he brings up that he was, still supporting his brother in this thing, he has not broken from his brother. And that's just a killer, because this was a disastrous war, and the country is done with the Bushes.
No doubt. Jonathan Alter, always great to visit. Appreciate your time on this Friday. Thanks so much.
Take care.